Hello, everyone. Welcome to this brand new podcast called Books and Stuff. It's a place where you and I discuss, review, and share our opinions on some of the best books, both fiction and non fiction, that we have read over the years. My name is Arjun, and I'm your host for this podcast. So, without wasting any more time, let's get started. Before I jump straight into discussing the book of today's podcast, that is Train to Pakistan, written by Khushwant Singh, I believe it's only fair to offer you guys a basic idea of what this podcast is going to be all about. So, books and stuff, as the name suggests, is going to be about books. I will pick a book every podcast and try to share my learnings to you all. I will share what I liked about the book, the major themes that it explores, the parts and characters that interested me the most, what I think the author could have done better, and I will finish it all off with an out of 5 rating of the book. More than sharing a critical insight of the book's contents to you all, the attempt here is to ensue a refreshed discussion about books and hopefully inspire and motivate some of you people to start reading again. And if you are someone who already reads on a very consistent basis, I hope to keep that fire burning by means of this podcast. However, I also understand that keeping this podcast strictly about books would be to limit myself as well as this podcast from talking about subjects that go beyond the realms of books and make themselves known in the outside world. Subjects such as philosophy and feminism that are very much a part of modern literature, but they also have an important role to play in the society at large. So, I will also offer my thoughts and opinions on these subjects and many more in the coming episodes. For now, I'm starting solo, but as we go further into this journey, I will try to bring in other book readers, book enthusiasts to the podcast. So, with that, let's move on to discussing the novel Train to Pakistan. Khushwant Singh's Train to Pakistan centers itself in a remote Indian village called Mano Majra, whose only claim to fame is a railway station where passenger trains coming from Delhi stop for a few minutes before sailing off to Lahore and vice versa. It is the summer of 1947, but life in this small village has continued unaffected, untouched by the ghost of partition which presented itself in the rest of the country. In fact, the sub inspector, in a conversation with the magistrate Hukum Chand, once reveals that he is sure that no villager is aware of the country's division into India and Pakistan. A significant action in the novel occurs when a robbery happens in Mano Majra and the local moneylender Ramlal is murdered. The suspicion falls on Jaggat Singh, a village badmash who is in love with a Muslim weaver's daughter named Nooro. However, a brooding silence descends over the whole village when a passenger train carrying the dead bodies of six arrives in Mano Majra from Pakistan. Anxiety and mistrust spread throughout the village as people barricaded their doors and stayed up all night talking in whispers. In anticipation of the communal riot that may break out in Mano Majra, the police evacuated all the Muslims from the village and sends them to the refugee camp to be later taken to Pakistan. Their homes are looted by the village gangs and their cattle are driven away. Meanwhile, some Mano Majorans, under the influence of a young leader, agree to participate in a plan to kill Muslims on the train that was due to pass the railway station on its way to Pakistan. Incapable of stopping this impending violence, the magistrate Hukum Chand decides to free Jagat Singh as a last resort. Will Jagga be able to stop his fellow villagers from killing their Muslim brothers? And if yes, then at what cost? All this and much more takes Train to Pakistan towards a suspenseful climax. It is quite apparent that the primary theme of the novel Train to Pakistan is partition, the division of the country into India and Pakistan, and the gruesome communal violence that ensued, at the end of which as many as 1 million people were dead. However, what is interesting here is that Khushwant Singh uses a village like Mano Majra, a religiously diverse vicinity whose inhabitants, as I mentioned earlier, were blissfully ignorant of the chaos that had gripped the country. The village people are mildly aware of the communal violence that was happening in the country, but the idea that anything remotely close to that could ever happen in Mano Majra was next to impossible. In fact, at one point in the novel, a young villager tells the Muslim priest Imam Baksh that as long as we are here, nobody will dare to touch you. So that transformation from being a place where Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims lived in harmony to becoming a place where a feeling of violence and vengeance brewed is a way for Khushwant Singh to show the violent cycle the whole country had been thrown into in the post-independence period. What I'm trying to convey here is that violence has been presented as a never-ending cycle, causing people to develop a feeling of hostility and vengeance towards people they have known all their life. It also shows how fragile their values were, that it could not withstand this tension and broke down at the slightest influence from the outside world. One of the many interesting things that I liked about this novel, and it also goes on to show how prolific of a writer Khushwant Singh was, is the inclusion of the character Iqbal Singh. His character symbolized the distance, the huge chasm that existed and still exists between rural India and the educated elites of the cities. Iqbal is a young man who, having received his education in England, comes to the village of Mano Majra to encourage peasants to demand more political and economic rights. Although it's never explicitly mentioned by Iqbal, the narrator's insight reveal that he is a member of the Communist Party that have sent him to the village to ensure communal harmony. But the readers can clearly see how distanced he was from the village's customs and lifestyle. He had brought his own canned food and refused to eat the food offered by Bhai Meet Singh and other villagers. He had no regard for the values shared by the villagers and would often break into fits of preaching the simpleton inhabitants of Mano Majra about the need to stop exploitation by the rich and abandoning landlords. However, when the communal tension rises in the village, he fails to act and decides to flee the scene. So, this was my impression of Iqbal's character when I was reading the novel, but while I was doing some research in order to gain a better insight into his character and the novel at large, I came to know that his character has been cunningly used by Khushwant Singh to express the mark that decades of British rule had left on the conscience of people. It is through his conversation with village folks that we come to know that many believed that India was better off under the British rule, despite the kind of exploitation they had done in India. Different characters, such as Bhai Meet Singh, Imam Baksh, and Banta Singh, use their personal experiences as well as passed on anecdotes to justify the British presence in India. To his credit, Iqbal promptly contradicts them all by calling British people in India a gang of 420s, but when they comment that India's independence meant very little to the poorer sections of the society, the jobs that were previously held by the British officers will now be taken over by educated men like Iqbal. He could not help but agree with them. Talking about the novel's shortcomings, I personally think that the novel feels stagnant at times, especially the parts that portrayed the magistrate's indulgence with a prostitute, even though it adds a great deal to our understanding of his character. Also, at one point, the narrator goes on to discuss in detail the cycle of seasons in India. I personally fail to grasp the importance of that description. However, these few shortcomings are duly compensated with a very dynamic and swiftly progressing plot, as well as an absorbing narration of events that never fails to grasp your attention. I would give this novel a rating of 4.5 out of 5. It's a fantastic novel. Please read if you haven't already. If you have, comment down below and let me know what you think about it. And with that, we have reached the end of our very first podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. I will soon be back with another episode to discuss another one of my favorite books. Till then, stay safe. Bye.